Welcome back, everyone. We're back in the Analyst Desk with Mask Swan and Lorix for the pre-game of the second series of the day, which is going to be the last one of today. It's going to be Bifrost versus 42. So it means we have a long time to talk about these teams as we're about to jump into pick and ban in like 5 seconds. So, hey, it is what it is. I like to talk with people. If we could speed run any percentage, boys, let's start with Mask Swan and then Lorix. Why is Bifrost going to win? Why is 42 going to win? So, Mess 1, why is 42 going to win?
It's not the one I wanted. A miracle, a prayer, and honestly, out of the two series we had, the upset I was predicting to be the first series, not the second one. If 42 can do it, you know what? Honestly, I think they need the bot lane not to go horribly for them, first and foremost. But bot lane bans are already coming through with the Yumi one, and I feel like we're all going to be happy about that one.
I think everyone is happy. Lorix, I think your answer is like, well, they just need to play for themselves. Bifrost is Bifrost. I think you're the Bifrost.
Yeah. Lane gap, they play on two lanes really well in the mid game, and Faith always seems to be in a position to set up his solo layers. So,
question before we have the first pick, and I'm glad Serafin is banned as well versus Cab especially and Dovendir. Tell me something, Swan. Do we have any seal of approval for anyone in this match?
Oh, Shikari top lane with an
Gave
Aatrox.
Aatrox to Shikari.
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's my seal of
that's an easy
approval,
one.
mate.
And
Oh.
So there's a meme, like an English meme, like way in the back. Maybe you guys know of it, where someone just says, "I can't believe you've done this." This is exactly this. You gave Aatrox to Shikari.
42.
Yeah, let's move on.
I can't believe you've done this.
Thank you.
Velios for Cabs, I think this is fine. The Aatrox wants to come into you. Velios good for that.
I mean,
see a
Maokai
Camille.
hasn't been picked yet. I'm in shock here.
I think Septico probably wants a Camille or something. Yeah.
I don't even know what you pick right now. Either you go for the bot
Graves
lane,
maybe?
entire bot lane, or for the jungle, for the Graves as well. Or maybe you can just go for the top lane. We saw this matchup previously. It went manageable.
Yeah, and he has
go
played this matchup. Sorry, this matchup has already happened earlier in the tournament. But I think it was a loss for 42. I think it was against Astralis.
It's Fury. I'm sorry because he always does this, but I didn't know his name. Like I was like, I just glimpsed like, oh, it's Fury. Okay. I was getting excited.
And if you're a random one, because I've got to get my one fact in. If you're a big fan of the LGL, you'll know that this match is typically Gnar favored. Rarely does the Aatrox actually win. So, I mean, I'm always on the Gnar side. Ebby has made that champion synonymous in the league. So I love to get that one LGL fact in while I'm here. Outside of that, though, back to our junglers. Hecarim was locked in. Maokai was locked in. We've now got Aatrox, Maokai, Azir. Teamfight Wombo combo is already set up. And Silas has already been banned as well by 42. So they've got no opportunity to try and mess this up.
I'm gonna say it, Lorix, before you take over. If Kai'Sa is picked for Bifrost, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm seriously getting up and I'm leaving. Good luck. Continue the champion select.
No, I think I kind of agree. It's already looking very nice for Bifrost. You have the Azir. I'd probably ban out some mid laners, LeBlanc, maybe Victor. But Lucian ban I think is good. If you give over Lucian Nami as well, then that's kind of done. The Lulu ban is a good one as well. It's a nice pairing with your Aphelios also. But now, I think maybe we could see still an aggressive pick for a quick timer like Pike. Maybe Leona as well. They seem to be champions he enjoys.
And Nautilus could come over as well. He can rotate with that one. It could be interesting.
If they do lock an immobile mid here, then we could even get to see the quick timer Bard. And that'd be quite nice.
I would love that. I also would love them if Bifrost can just pick a random just hyper carry in that light that you are onto Archeron with that Samira. I mean, a Jinx would be perfectly fine here. This is not. It was actually locked in.
I love this. I can talk about this for days, by the way. I have a lot of things to say about this in Nivea, but I'm just waiting to see if that is a Kai'Sa. It's not a Kai'Sa. It's still a Varus. It's still an interesting one. So I was talking with the coach. I think it was Dan back in the day, and he was telling me, why does nobody talk about Anivia. Anivia is so good right now for the meta that we have. Most people are close range and they need a lot of space to fight. They like to fight as well in short, close spaces of the map. Anivia excels at that. The wall is perfect. If you bring the Gnar in the Anivia, you have a perfect stand 100% of the time. The Heimerdinger joins the fray, and I'm not so in favor of Bifrost right now. I know it's the Exodia pick on the left side, but look into the right side. I like this, but this is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Varus Karma, I think, probably still going to have a more than enjoyable time here, outranging the red side bot lane, but who knows, you know?
I just feel like the execution angle for Bifrost is just so easy. It's like, this is literally like kiddie wheels. Like, you want to win in a BO3, you want to get the first win on the board. Bifrost have drafted the comp that I feel for it. 42 though, I think, as you mentioned, Artrum, with that Gnar combo, with a Nivea, with a Hecarim ultimate coming over the top, with hopefully an Aphelios who gets to just keep going forever and ever and never gets touched. They could absolutely storm through team fights. I just worry about Shikari just doing a random wraparound and then the whole fight being lost before you even get started.
I know both of you are on Bifrost's side, so that's why I'm gonna ask numbers. A percentage of how much 42 have window to win. I'm trying to put this as polite as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a percentage. Yeah.
I'm
not gonna give you a freebie. I'm not gonna say, oh, is Bifrost gonna win?
I'll give
I want to understand percentage.
Give them 8%, because I think 10% is maybe a little bit too generous, but 5 is a bit too harsh. I think it's very one-sided.
As someone that was covering the league that just recently had the highest loss streak in Pro League of Legends history of V3 esports, I'm going to say with some confidence, I'm going to give 42 like 25%, honestly. Like, I think there's a good chance that they can just get one wombo combo. And we saw Rudder do that, Rudder esports. So I absolutely think 42 can take one. This is the composition that could do it.
It's above 20%, so it's a good one. 8% Larks.
Yeah.
Nah, you just sound like my parents,
That's a coach.
man.
That's a
let's
coach
toss
number.
it to the casters, and this is going to be a lovely one. We have Solari. We know we all love Solari. Buds joining Solari for the first time. I can say this. Aladdin, Aladdin, Aladdin. Take it away, take it away.
What a combo.
Hello, everyone. What a lovely introduction there from Archerum. Really, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I am Aladar. I'm here with Solari for what will be the first game of this series between 42 Gaming and Bifrost. First of all, Solari, how are you feeling after an interesting first draft?
I absolutely love the draft, to be honest. It's going to be so interesting to watch it because 42 have a potential here to have such explosive team fights. But honestly, I have to agree with Mask Swan. If everything just goes smoothly and, you know, no explosions happening on the map, it should be an easier one for a Bifrost.
Yeah, and of course, 42 go into this as real underdogs, right? I mean, I rank them 14th in the power rankings. You can check those out on the NLC website if you'd like, by the way. Bifrost up in the top 5. Yeah, it's a David versus Goliath, but we saw what Ruddy could do earlier, and maybe throwing a curveball in the draft, this is exactly what you need to do when you're stacked up against it purely based on talent. So do you think this is the philosophy here that 42 are going for?
It might be. Honestly, I really need to see how exactly it's going to be executed from both of the teams, because right now we can talk about how both of the drafts look on the paper, but it really will go down to how well the teams will be playing. And especially this is the case for Bifrost, because remember, they had the changes in the roster still quite recently, and I need to see whether the time that passed since then was enough for them to get all played together.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, Bifrost, after we see what Ruddy did, I initially thought maybe Bifrost hadn't really been challenged in their group. They had what looked like quite an easy group. But after Ruddy's performance against Astralis, maybe they were able to show their mettle a little bit more than I thought in that group. So perhaps that is speaking well for how this roster is going to be. Lovely bit of early damage there onto Cabs. And yeah, so what do you think is going to be the most exciting lane for us to start this one off?
I want to say, well, obviously this is going to be bot lane, at least one of the most exciting ones, simply because we have the Heimerdinger, and we have already seen how things have been happening on the walls with Heimerdinger support. But frankly, I have to say all the lanes will be rather interesting here, because we have the mid lane where things can go absolutely both ways. We have top lane where I absolutely need to see some early action happening from 42, because we know how the Aatrox thing works. You really need to pay attention to that thing on the top lane, because otherwise, if you just leave him there to be, in a mid game, he goes from the top lane down to wherever the action is happening, and he has just way too much power and way too much sustain for you to do anything about him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be a big problem. And also for 42, Septico has been where they've been finding a lot of their success when they have been winning games. 4-3 in their group. They won their tiebreaker up against Lungfist Lightside. They had a pretty good showing in groups overall. And when they did get those good results, it was often playing through Septico on the top side. So we'll see whether they're going to look to do that. But right now, they could be in trouble on the bot side. Flash in straight away from Faith. And that is as clean as you like. The first blood going over to Quick Timer. The only slight issue with that, but lovely early kill from Bifrost.
The issues are so minor, you can't really call them that, I would say. That's a very clean first blood, and absolutely no vision was available for 42, and Thorin was just a little bit too late to go to that side of the map, so nothing they can do to answer that. No punishment will happen for Bifrost this time.
Yeah, 42 claiming the scuttler at least, but they might get double crab. So that's something. A tiny bit of solace for them there, but a tiny bit.
I wouldn't say it's equal, but it's something, right? As you said. Could also be happening finally some action on the top lane. Not right now, of course, because Shikari just walking around looking at Thorin with no respect in his eyes.
Yeah, actually, we're going to see some aggression from Shikari onto Thorin. Does get the pullback there. But Thorin seems to be okay with mostly ignoring the World Ender for the time being. Septico roaming down as well. But they're actually going to give it up. They're going to allow Bifrost to... Shikari's just sort of posturing as if the jungler's in the area. The jungler's not in the area. Faith is nowhere nearby, but Shikari able to claim the crab.
Sometimes it's just enough to apply that pressure, and Septico was really busy on the top lane with that huge wave. Ooh, we have Quick Timer here.
Yeah, Quick Timer going for an early gank into the middle lane. The flash is not going to help Nitro too much, or will it? The egg will get pots, but they can't go under the tower to take it, but getting rid of the passive, that's nice.
But sometimes you forget that Anive has this beautiful passive of hers, and it's not enough to kill her once. Sometimes you need to do it twice. But I absolutely love seeing that action from Quick Timer. You know why people love Karma so much as a support on the bot lane, because of her roaming abilities, and you expect to see her on the mid lane as often as possible. Especially there's Azir, somebody who wants to have some early action happening on the mid lane and some early wins, fortunately.
Shikari's playing really aggressively, considering there's a massive minion wave stacked up and a level disadvantage. So Septico wasn't able to go full in on him there, but Shikari a little bit disrespectful perhaps. Really feeling himself early this game, you know, posturing, getting the scuttler, and now going very aggressive into the wave with Septico. I mean, maybe this is exploitable for 42 going forwards, we'll have to see.
Potentially, but when it comes to the CS department, it's absolutely the same on the top lane, so I would say Shikari is feeling rather comfortable regardless of whether he's sitting under his turret or pushing the wave all the way to Septico's turret. But we had a lot of action everywhere in the very beginning of the game, still a lot of exchanges here and there, but we have a little breathing moment here. Not maybe so much looking at Cannel's HP, unfortunately, but what is going to happen next? Because we have the first dragon already on the map. There is no clear prior either on the bot lane or the mid lane. Is it something exploitable? Because either of the junglers, both of them actually, are on the bot side of the map right now.
Potentially, we are seeing Fury going back to base, so you would imagine, with no TP available, so you'd imagine that means that Bifrost aren't necessarily thinking about it themselves right now. Could leave an opening for 42 Gaming, but they're going to look to get a lane gank going down bot side instead.
There is no vision available for Bifrost, so they don't see that. It's a beautiful opening for Thorin. There is no level 6 available for him, so no availability for an onslaught of the shadows, but still he could try to do something if they really want to extend this to the Drake.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to take a long time for them to set up, and Faith is still somewhat in the area, and actually just protecting, just shadowing, making sure the bot lane wasn't going to get ganked while they were pushing in, and maybe that's okay for 42. However, this might not be so okay, as Nitro no longer has that egg. Faith over the wall, absolutely nothing Nivea can do. And Fury wins the bird-on-bird fight. However, Faith now might be in a little bit of trouble, because here comes Thornton. Cabs and Dovendir also in the area. The root will come through. Twisted advances, a twisted escape, but it's not going to be enough. as Cabs returns one for 42 Gaming, but it's not over yet. Dovendale having to flash away. Thornton might go on to Fury here. Fury able to dash away. Kennel now really not in the right position. The Varus is going to go down. No! Just stays alive as Kennel picks up the kill. And this is really frenetic back and forth, but everyone finally decides they've had enough of chaos for the time being.
That was an exchange of a lot of resources, just so many flashes all around. Rather important point that in the very beginning of that fight, there were no ultimates available for either of the junglers, so there could have been done more there. But in the end, we're ending this with a 3-1, so Bifrost are in the lead. Could potentially have tried to exploit it towards the Drake, just maybe in case of evasion, but they're just recalling and they're going to walk from the base with a little bit more items in their pockets.
We'll see now a little replay of exactly went down in that middle lane fight.
I want to see how exactly Anivi ended up behind her own wall, because that looked extremely unfortunate. I believe there was a flash that didn't work well, but let's see here. Because here comes the wall, and this is the Maokai power. He just throws her behind her own wall, and she locks herself down, and she cannot get out of that situation anymore. So it's an easy kill transfer to Fury, a very good kill transfer. Thornton jumps in. This is the moment that I was talking about. No ultimates available. Could have gone completely different if only level 6 were available for the junglers. But then there is pretty much everybody from the bottom side of the map joining the fight. And again, a lot of resources, a lot of flashes happening around to make sure there is no control ending on anybody. This is the moment where Hale was just pressed the very, very last moment. I was sure the canal was going to go down there, but no, Hale saves him and allows him to get a kill.
Yeah, that's a lot of bravery there from Kennel to hold on to that heal until the very last second. Really, really baiting Thornton in. Great heads-up play then from the bot laner for Bifrost, and now they're going to go aggressive in the middle lane once again. Nitro in trouble for the third time this game. Might be the second death. Nature's Grasp going to be chasing down the bird. Here comes Fury into the fight as well. They pop the egg, but this time it's little solace to the 42 Gaming mid laner, who is going to go down. Meanwhile, on the bot side, there's been another kill. Cabs falling down. Thornton able to get one back. Quick timer. Going to hop on out of there. Dovendale going to actually look for the stun. Gets a slow instead. They should be able to find this kill here. Thornton going in and gets the double. So 42 do strike back on the bot side, but it's going to go bad for them in the middle lane.
They are going to lose quite a lot because it was just a Herald popped here. There was an interesting double kill on the bot lane. Wait, are we going to see something more? Septico is just... No, he's just trying to protect his turret. But that's a lot of gold for Fury and for Frontier right now. Double kill on Thornton is a rather interesting thing. I think we need to talk about it, but maybe not right now. Because the dragon is still up. Somehow nobody paid attention to the poor Drake.
These teams are exceptionally belligerent so far this game. They're just going to annoy the dragon before heading back to base with a little bit of indecision there. As now Bifrost might be able to take advantage of these recall timers as well. We'll have another replay as the action's been pretty much non-stop so far.
Oh yes, absolutely. But we're going to see what exactly happened on the bot lane. This looks like a bait for Cubs because he's low HP, but that's not a bait because he actually is going to go down. But here comes Thornton, and this time he's level 7, so Onslaught of the Shadow is available. He can jump in, get one kill, and then it's just a very easy one to go and continue on to quick time it because he has no flash available. It's very little time for it to resurrect. It's still not there, so an easy double kill for the pony.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of volatility on the bot side of the map so far, which is exactly what Mars Swan said they didn't want to see going on down here if you're hoping for a 42 win. So yeah, it's looking okay for Bifrost at the moment. They've got the gold where they want it. If you just look purely at the kills, it's 5-3, not a huge gulf. But the kills are on the right players for the most part for Bifrost. Whereas you've got this double kill on the Hecarim. It accelerates Thornton, but I'm assuming you'd rather have those on the Aphelios or the Anivia, right?
I would say it would be the best to have those skills on Aphelios, but Hecarim is not the worst scenario here because you can still try to accelerate these skills on him around the early to the mid game. Later, definitely you would regret not having them on somebody who just died.
I mean, you've got to pay more respect than that. Cabs is standing there, just gets absolutely one shot under the tower. It's like he forgot Varasalt was a thing. Now we're going to see Thornton potentially going in onto Faith. But they don't really have a man advantage. It's a disadvantage here. Dovendale's going to get locked up by the Nature's Grasp. Faith going still forward. Yet more damage coming through as QuickTime picks up the kill. Now they might turn it back onto Faith. There it is. Thornton is the strong member of 42 Gaming right now, but not feeling so healthy as Fury comes over the wall. But it's hard to chase someone down as the Emperor of the Sands, and the fight will disengage once more.
And now, again, another opening for a potential dragon because you just chased away Thoden, but you don't have your own jungler, so you don't really want to overextend here. The bot lane is going rather interestingly. I would say, despite we have Heimerdinger on the side of 42, it's something you could have expected because you're placing Pharos, who has a super long range, plus Karma, who pretty much has the same against Aphelios, who really struggles against two things, which are magic damage because he has really low magic resist, and the range because his own range is rather low. So I would say what is happening on the bot lane is rather to be expected. I would expect 42 also to try to accelerate on some other parts of the map, while knowing the bot lane probably could suffer in the laning phase. But this is something we're not really seeing happening. Yes, kills on the jungler, very good, but not enough.
Yeah, and in the pre-show, when we were previewing this series on the desk, the discussion was all about the top side. It was about what can Septico do up against Shikari. Is there a universe where Thornton can accelerate Septico enough that this would be the critical advantage that would get 42 Gaming into the game? Nothing has happened on the top side. Pretty much nothing whatsoever. It's all been down bottom, and there's been a lot of it. So 42 evidently not going for the same thing that our analysts wanted to see from them. It's not working out too badly, though. They're 2k gold in the hole right now, but against a team like Bifrost, that's not terrible.
Not great, not terrible. But I'm really surprised to actually not see anything happening on the top lane at all and not see Thorin try to do anything. He was shadowing top lane a couple of times. We saw that definitely from him, but he was not trying to have any action happening there, which is a bad thing when you're playing against Aatrox, especially when it's Shikari on Aatrox. Again, something that can be really exploitable later in the game, or maybe even now. Look at the damage on Septico already.
Yeah, Narbar's there as well, but they're not going to go for the full engage on the top side. Meanwhile, we have both junglers bot once again. Cap's going to go with the Moonlight Vigil. Davender flashing in to try and follow up on it as well. Kennel does go low, but not low enough, and is able to snipe with the fadeaway Thornton. Nothing they can do, and now they're going to be in a spot of bother. It's 4v2 all of a sudden down in the bot side. Fury can sweep on in if necessary, but the Onslaught of Shadows will get Thornton out to safety this time.
So it's one clear kill for Bifrost, and they don't lose absolutely anything. Again, this Karma pickup on the bot lane is just working extremely nicely for them because the amount of control they all of a sudden can throw on the lane and make sure they can secure at least one kill thanks to her binding is changing how these smaller fights are going. I rather want to see how it's going to work in the big 5-on-5 team fights because I imagine the dynamics are going to be a little bit different, but in the smaller skirmishes, this is a great pickup for them that's just working to 100%.
And so do you think if we get to these 5v5 team fight scenarios, is this going to be better for 42? Because at the moment, it's really been Bifrost pushing the tempo, claiming all these small skirmishes. Is this part of their game plan? And would 42, should they be looking for these bigger team fights instead?
That's a really good question. And it depends on so many circumstances. But right now, look at the top lane. Finally, we have some action here.
Yeah, it's 42 who are going to push the tempo this time around. World Ender popped by Shikari. Pretty much that was all that was necessary. Thornton managed to jog them back, but really didn't do anything. Thornton's the one who limps away from that one. Fury in the mid lane. Good flash from Nitro to escape. Good flash from Fury to escape as well. But the tower will go down.
The tower will go down, but neither Fury nor Nitro will go down. So it's rather okay for both of the teams. May I bring your attention to the fact that the dragon is still standing while Bifrost are looking at the possibility of the second Herald in this game already. That's...
Yeah, these two teams need no excuse to get into the fisticuffs, clearly. Usually you think, oh, you fight over an objective, you fight over defending a tower. These teams just fight whenever they want, to be honest. And Bifrost will claim the first major objective of the game here at the 15th minute. So, yeah, that's going to be nice for them, at least.
Going back to the question that you asked a little bit earlier about a 5-on-5 fight. We already talked about it, and the Analyst Desk talked about it, that big team fights are going to be easier for Bifrost to execute purely because they have a lot of range and rather more clear distribution of who does what in the team in those big fights. For 42, a lot will depend on how well they will manage to control the battlefield before the fight actually starts. Because definitely they will need to play with the vision a lot, considering their top side of the map. They have the Gna, they have Karim, a very good engage and a very good possibility of immediate control that you can bounce from. But you really need to make sure you can throw it in safely without just leaving them in to die.
And speaking of 42's team comp and what they're supposed to do, when I see an Anivia pick in the middle lane, I think you're not supposed to lose mid tower, right? I think you're meant to be wave clearing the whole time, pretty much impenetrable as a defense. The mid tower went down very early. What is the Anivia pick supposed to do? Maybe we talk about that in a moment, because here comes another engagement. 42 are going in, but they don't realize how many members of Bifrost are in the area. They might be able to take down Fury first, but Fury stays alive, and Davender is the one to fall. It's just going to be the one kill this time around.
That's Bifrost in your area, and that's a huge lack of vision for 42 in this part of the map. They don't really have any offensive vision apart from some bots on the top. Oh my god!
They're just throwing it out again. The chain of corruption lands, and there's no hope for Nitro here. Once again, Kenal just able to completely catch someone napping with the Varus ultimate.
A lot of control from that bot to bot lane duo formed by Frost. And finally, is it going to be the Dragon, which is probably going to be answered by the turret from 42 on the top lane? Yeah, it looks like it's going to be at least some exchange, but this is going to be the first Drake of the game finally happening.
Yeah, and they take a trade turrets, bot side and top side, but the Drake will make the trade a little bit spicier for Bifrost here. They are going to take down the Ocean Dragon 17.25 minutes into the game. We get the first Dragon taken down. Not been a high priority this game.
I've seen some games almost ending at that time, and we're just at the first Drake. That's an interesting pace, especially considering that we have seen so much action around the mid lane and the bot lane, and in general around the bot side of the map, especially coming from Bifrost. We're going to see the replay. We're going to see exactly what was happening here around this poor Dragon Pit. Look at that. No vision. A little bit of it available here. So 42 should have had at least an idea about how many members of Bifrost could be in this part of the map. But it was only an idea. It was not enough for them. They couldn't anticipate so many people and so much control thrown at them. Another fight.
Oh, there's a lot going on here. Thornton's already fallen down. That's never good news for 42. Dovendir goes down. Fury claims the killing spree. 12 kills to 4 at this stage. It's starting to collapse for 42, and it might get worse because Cabs is in trouble. Will be able to escape the route and has a blast cone. That should be enough to keep the bot laner alive. But yeah, it's looking really rough now for 42.
He's getting out. He's going to leave for a little while longer. Cannot say the same about Septico.
Yeah, Septico actually seeing another member of the enemy team for pretty much the first time this game, as Faith will go in towards the Nar. Septico looking to try and turn it around, but there are 4 members of Bifrost lurking in the shadows. So Septico does well to exercise a little bit of caution.
So effectively you have no auto turrets available for 42 at this point, which means for them, whenever the next objectives are happening on the map, it's going to be so harder for them to go and try to contest them. And they're at the risk of losing the inner ones as well. Yes, that was the second point, and nobody stopped it.
Uh-oh, quick timer might be in a spot of bother. Thornton might claim a kill for 42. Finally, there will be one. And Kenal's actually really low as well, but high health enough to dissuade the charge of the Hecarim any further. Cabs also got super low somehow in the engagement. Meanwhile, on the top side, more and more is happening. Septico doesn't have the Narbard burning, ticking, will not fall. Stays alive, blast cones away. And 42 count their blessings that they were able to escape at least on this occasion.
Barely, but they stay alive. But look at their health bars. This means that there is another turret that is going down. Another the inner turret on the mid lane most probably will go down. Which means that Bifrost will be pretty much in complete control around the map. And I was talking about the lack of offensive vision from 42. Without these turrets, it's going to be way harder for them to try to re-establish it anywhere on the map. So right now, they're going to find themselves in a war situation because the map is almost completely dark for them.
Yeah, very, very dark, and some very scary enemy champions. 6-1 and 2 for Kenal right now, 3-0-2 for Fury. Even Shikari, who's been quietly farming up on the top side, 0-0-2, but we've seen what he can do on the Aatrox. Even so far in the Aurora Open, and the group's had some monster Aatrox plays. And yeah, Bifrost, it's a scary team at the best of times. Right now, it's even more frightening with the gold advantage that they have.
And just in general, the difference in the itemization between the teams, you can see how easy it's going to be for Bifrost to win the team fights right now without even talking about the champion pool, just purely because they have much more damage output and much more control. Which means that right now, in the fight for the vision around the Baron and potentially the Baron as well, 42 need to find some answer, but they cannot just go in and fight them one-on-one. Or rather 5-on-5.
Yeah, right now, Baron's already taking some damage. Quick timer looking to dissuade 42 as they will get an idea. Nature's Grasp goes down. The blast cone is used defensively from Nitro, but that denies Thornton one potential entry into the pit. It's going to have to be the ultimate now for the Hecarim if they want to get inside. It's getting lower and lower. Down to 2,000 health. Shikari actually goes low as well. Thornton goes in too early though, but the spike is... He steals it away! He will fall for his troubles, but that is huge for 42 Gaming. Now Fury trying to get the flash. Will get the flash. Now oversteps. Cabs going forwards. And Fury gets out of that one. Septico the whole time on the bot side as well.
Yes, 42 did that 4 versus 5 without having the top laner with them. And right now, because they managed to not overextend that, and they managed to get away, almost all of them are alive except for one. This means they have Baron buff on 4 members of that team. The bot lane is completely destroyed for Bifrost, and suddenly, this is an angle from which 42 can try to bounce from.
Yeah, it's huge. It's such a flip as well, because not only is it just taking the Baron and you get the gold from the Baron, but the objective bounties as well. We'll see exactly how it happened once again.
So Thoron is really trying to go in. They're trying to fight for the vision control in the pit to make sure they see how much health is available for the Baron. This is the moment Bifrost step back because they are running low on health and they're scared. But because of that, Thoron manages to win the fight for the Baron. He goes down, but this is the price that 42 are ready to pay.
Absolutely. They'll be delighted to pay that particular price. It's a bargain as far as they're concerned. Baron on 4 members, and the split pushing from Septico starting to pay off as well. Has the TP up and available, has 2 full items on the Gnar, well on the way to a 3rd. So Septico is slowly getting to this position where, once again, they can be a focal point for 42 if that is the way the Danish organization wants to go. However, for now, they're going to have to worry about the dragon. Well, actually, they're not going to worry about the dragon. They're focusing topside instead.
Bifrost are worrying about the dragon. They're taking this one. But look at what's happening on the top side. It's rather interesting because you have Anivia who is losing on the mid lane dramatically. So what do you do with such a champion who is losing so much? You send her to the side lanes to try to have as much split pushing happening as possible. Oy, Cabs.
Cabs in trouble, cannot escape, no flash. And that will be a dominant kill then for the Varus. Kennar picking that one up, quick timer now. Just messing with Thornton a little bit, but I don't think that's something to worry about unless Shikari comes in, the world over the wall. But no, not gonna happen this time around.
Not enough slow from Nitro, but look at what's happening at the base of 42. They lost this little momentum, and Bifrost used that. They managed to jump from just killing Cubs to taking down the turret. No need to take down the inhibitor right now. They don't want to fuel 42 with any more additional gold from the super minions. They will rather wait for the next Baron, and after that, I imagine it's going to be, if Bifrost managed to get this Baron, mind you, it's going to be an easy push for them. They already have one line open for them.
Yeah, and honestly, this is something that separates teams like Bifrost, real tier 1 orgs, from some of the rest of the teams in the tournament. We'll talk about that in a moment, because Septico wants to find the kill onto quick timer, and will indeed be able to do so. You'd have to imagine. No, the shield is... Oh, it's such a tilter. Fury goes on a rampage at the expense of Septico, and that is... You just hate to see it.
How much health was there on Kama? Because I completely missed it, but I imagine the number was extremely small. That shield in the very last moment... She was supposed to go down, but what do we have in the end? We have one more kill from 42 side, 15-5. We go between the teams, and 42 have desperately been trying to use the remainings of their Baron buff, but it's gone right now. So we need to look into the next objectives on the map for both of the teams, and for deep push for 42 as well. We have some time for the next Baron, and I imagine Bifrost would rather switch their attention to the top side of the map right now, because they cannot give away the next one. Otherwise, the game is going to be very long. They still can win this one, but it's going to be a long game.
Yeah, and if the game does go long, which team are we favoring if we're getting to the late stage? Say we're getting to the 35-40 minute mark. Which composition do you think comes online more as the game goes on?
I would say the difference between the teams right now is so big that Bifrost will still have the upper hand, unless 42 do another crazy thing on the map. And by the way, answering my own question a little bit earlier, Kama had 21 HP. Thank you, production, for answering it.
21. It's not quite single digits, but it's very, very low. And I don't think it's going to be much solace to Septico, whether it was 21 or 1. Just going to be very tilted by that one, regardless. Faith might have found Thornton here. Thornton's pretty fast, though, and should be able to claim the grunt before escaping. No, it's smited away by Faith. That's just... Again, talk about the tilting plays. It's happened to Septico. That's a tilter for Thornton as well.
Look at the amount of vision in this part of the map. Bifrost are putting so much control around it. They really don't want to give 42 any opportunity to move freely around the map. At the same time, there is more vision from 42 on the top side of the map, so it's a little bit better considering the Baron is going up in a minute and a half. But it's, again, not offensive enough, so they don't really see anything around the pit, and it's still hard for them to predict how Bifrost are moving. And Bifrost are in such big lead that for 42, if anyone gets caught in the jungle, it's a complete disaster.
Yeah, look at the minimap right now. You can see just how dark 90% of that minimap is. That is a scary situation for 42. Dovendale looking to try and claim something. But that's also kind of trouble with the Heimerdinger support pick. You can't really go and ward on your own because you're not very safe. You don't have many escape mechanisms. So we'll be heading back to base now, getting the resets in time. Baron up in just under a minute's time. will we see both teams focusing on that immediately, or are we thinking maybe the Dragon's also going to be a bit of a lure for Bifrost?
I would say Bifrost want to focus on the Baron right now. I don't think... Well, I think they want to have it secured as early as possible. That's why we see them already walking around it and clearing as much vision from 42 as they can find. They don't want the same situation as last time to repeat, so they want to take the Baron as safely as possible. And by the way, another problem with not the hacker, the Heimerdinger support is the lack of money that he is getting. Look at the items on the Heimerdinger. There is no mythic yet.
Ooh, having to flash away.
Oof.
The flash burned. And the ult from Fury burned as well, with Baron spawning in 15 seconds. Maybe 42 are alright with that one, if they can force a fight anytime soon. But you've got to feel, if a fight does happen around the Baron pit, it's going to be on Bifrost terms. 42 don't have that clean of a way to really force the fight.
Unless they do something around Septico's Mega Gnat form and around Nitro. But again, it's going to be so hard for them. There are so many things you need to take into consideration as them. As for the Bifrost, you just go in, you have so many ultimates and so much control that you don't even need to think too much about it.
Quick timer might have actually caught out Nitro. Nature's Grasp going to be thrown down by Faith. Nitro is going to get locked up, flashes away instead. Thornton forced to use the ultimate defensively. That's not good news if you need to be sneaking into any pits anytime soon. Davender, where on earth are you? In trouble. Shikari chasing down Fury, also going to be getting with the soldiers. Shikari flashes for it. Not sure it was necessary, but an extra 179 gold, never going to hurt.
A little bit of an Aurora kill, but if you're Shikari, you're allowed to do it, I guess.
Fury doesn't have the ultimate, slides in with no ultimate to back up. Good wall, actually, from Nitro's. Cap's going to be over the wall. 1 for 1 so far, but here comes Kennel on the backside as well. Fury able to pump out the damage, but here is Septico. The Gnar in the fight could make all the difference. Watch the Gnar bar as Thornton goes in. There's one. They've already picked it up. Kennel desperately trying to escape now as well, as in comes Shikari and just absolutely slaps the Hecarim. Septico versus Shikari, but Shikari has the health, and Septico tail between the legs. The Mega Gnar is mega, but it's not that big, as Faith the whole time was calmly focusing on the dragon.
Indeed, Bifrost were just dying one after another, and he's there taking the objectives, doing apparently the jungler's work as he's supposed to. But what do we have? We have 2 members of 42 still down, and 3 members, no, 2 right now from Bifrost are still down. The dragon taken, so right now there is only one big objective on the map that we need to focus on. A little bit of breathing room for 42 to actually try to establish vision control around it. And we're going to see again how this fight happened. And I want you to pay attention to Aphelios a little bit later, because the damage output from him is absolutely insane. This is the late game Aphelios, but not now maybe. Because I have the Baron.
Okay, 42 Gaming looking to try and sneak it, but now they've been caught out and caught with their pants around their ankles as Nitro already super low in the fight. Quick time trying to finish off the mid laner. Finally, Faith will get the kill, but Shikari actually is also falling down. Septico has the health, but on the backside, Bifrost are cleaning up the fight. Thornton still alive. They can't finish the Baron while Thornton is alive. Fury trying to escape, very low HP. It's a real chaotic fight, but here comes Kennel, full HP, and Thornton has no hope anymore. Septico with no Narbar to speak of, and Bifrost clean it up.
That was a very good focus from 42 in the beginning when we saw them taking down Shikari, because you know that if you leave him alive, even if you take down everybody from Bifrost, he's still going to be a trouble for you trying to take the Baron. But right after that, things completely turned around. Bifrost just had, again, way too much control and way too much damage, because they're so ahead in terms of the damage that, in terms of the items that allow them a much better damage output. And I hope we see the replay again, because it's really interesting with how much attention there is from Bifrost against Nitro as well in the very beginning of the fight. There is not much kills on that Anivia per se, but there is still a lot of impact on the fight that you want to get rid of.
And now we'll see another replay. Hopefully we won't get yanked out of this one.
Not like last time, yes. So Shikari is jumping in, and immediately 42 need to pay attention to him and to the jungler, because so much damage and they cannot really do much about it. Unfortunately, Nitro is out of the equation, so rather good. And after that, you can just continue working around it. Quick timer is going to take some attention towards him from Thornton, making sure that he's going to throw resources at him. But we have another fight. Well, it's not even a fight.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. If you're Heimerdinger, you're trying to get some, well, it's not even a deep ward, some medium depth wards. You can be caught out pretty quick, and that's exactly what just happened to Davender.
And poor Heimerdinger is still only running with a relay. This is sad. This is the downfall of taking Heimerdinger as a support. You just cannot get as much gold as you would have taken if you were on the mid lane. And because of that, your damage is suffering, your survivability is suffering, and your team is suffering too.
Yeah, 0, 7, and 6 Heimerdinger support. It's looking a bit solo Q-esque right now if you just pay attention to the scoreboard. Here comes Faith. Once again with the Nature's Grasp, it goes for so long and does manage to lock up Cabs, but they're not going to go any further with that one for now. Just going to use it to get the pressure on the inhibitor. First inhibitor does fall. Top lane inhibitor is also now open. They're going to look for try to get something, but they can't find it yet. 42 have the health bars though. They can potentially look for the fight.
So this is what we're talking about, the inhibitors. Right now, finally, there is the second Baron available for well, it's first Baron for Bifrost, actually. So this is the moment where they take down the inhibitors, because this is when they will take the most out of these two open lanes. And it's two open lanes instead of one that we were talking about before. So right now, the lead for Bifrost is absolutely massive. They're also sitting on the soul point, so they can even ignore the next dragons completely, because we're talking about Ocean Soul, not the most beneficial one right now for this team. So they can ignore that, let 42 do whatever they want on the bot side of the map, try to still defend it, while but Bifrost destroy the top part of the map.
Yeah, and you see Davender having to claim the blue buff there. 42's own blue buff, the support picking it up. You've got to feel Anivia is one of the champions that you most want to have the blue buff on in this game. 42 having to desperately try and clear ways with no mana on the top side, by the way. But they're just in such a situation right now where they can't afford to allocate their resources in the way they'd want to. They're just taking what scraps they fall off the table that Bifrost leave them. And right now, Bifrost are really starting to choke them out. They've got 1 pushing in the mid lane. They've got 4 down on the bottom side, and they're looking for their 3rd inhibitor.
And I believe they will finish after that. They take down the inhibitor, they can take down 42 right now, and they can just win game 1 just here.
Yeah, already, look, Davendir's chunked out, Septico's chunked out, Cabs a little bit chunked out as well. They're going to get further with a nice arrow there from Kenal. The flash out, and look at the space they're buying already. Now Septico getting out of there with the Mega Nar bar almost up. You don't want to be hopping away. Thornton desperately trying to do something on the backside of the fight, but the rest of 42 Gaming are in no position to capitalize, and it's just a dead jungler now. Here comes Faith into the fight as well. We're going to make it 2 dead junglers, but the double kill does come through for Kenal. And now Fury flashing forwards on the Azir. You don't often see that, as the spears will absolutely poach that egg. Nitro falls down. And Bifrost, they're just playing with their food at this point. They have the game in the bag.
Absolutely. Turret number 1 goes down. The rest of 42 potentially could go down as well, because look at Bifrost. They're relentless.
Oh.
Yes, they're taking down. No, they're taking down absolutely everything on this map, and they're taking down game 2 in their... Okay. Okay, Fury, that was an interesting way to end it.
Yeah, Fury has a pretty good KDA so far in the Aurora Open. Slightly tanking it a little bit at the end there, but nevertheless, they're going to be delighted by Frost. With the way that game went in general, it was a messy game. It was a scrappy game. Maybe they'd like for it to have been a bit more controlled. But at the same time, they never were in a situation where they were playing catch-up. So if you're Bifrost, are you happy with how that game went?
I would say, except for that one moment with the Baron and with the beautiful split push happening at the same time from 42. Like, if they knew that this Baron was absolutely in their pockets, you have to respect the audacity coming from them. Apart from that moment, everything else was going very well for Bifrost, because they were always in control of what was happening on the map. And 42 were in a position where they were just answering to whatever Bifrost were throwing at them. Never were they in control.
Yeah, you never want to be dancing to the rhythm that the other team is setting up for you. And we'll see what the rhythm that Arshram is going to be setting up on the Analyst Desk now, as they will digest this first game between 42 Gaming and Bifrost.
Salsa. That's the rhythm I can bring to you, my man, as we jump back into the desk. This was an interesting game. Let's start from the top. Let's understand what happened at the beginning of the game. The way Faith was capable of using their Maokai to set up some leads in the
I think you need to give them, Archron, their proper introduction, because there was a special song that was made specially for them. Because you gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because you gotta have faith. Maokai! It's a really strong champion, ladies and gentlemen. Aatrox as well, it's always there. And you've got to have Azir. That's it. I'm done.
Production, yeah, you can mute him. Yeah, you have permission to mute him. Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much, Lorix. So I think it's a duo desk. I think we're just stepping out of a flex. Are you there, Swan?
I'm there.
I thought they muted you. Like, I wanted to see how much they went in. I just wanted to see how much investment we would get. But not, let's be honest, like, Maokai at the beginning of the game was enough to get a big lead towards the bot side. And it went pretty much on the 8% you predicted, Lorix. Is that the way it went? Before we jump into the battle, let's talk about the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it went pretty much as we predicted in the sense that Faith was literally everywhere he needed to be. Every time 42 Gaming wanted to make a play, wanted to set something up with the Hecarim, there was Faith ready to prevent the play. Fury was getting the mid lane prior with the Azir, especially after they burned the early flash. Everything was just sort of set up exactly how Bifrost would want it. Shikari wasn't really too involved in this game from the start, but he was just able to scale up on the Aatrox. And yeah, just overall everything going probably according to Bifrost's plan, very sort of controlled game until that Nasher where I think they skipped a few steps, didn't really have vision in the enemy jungle, and that sort of enabled a slight comeback.
And that's when I get to a point, Swan, where I believe Bifrost could have done better to protect that Baron. We've seen Bifrost win games in 23, 21, 26. This is probably one of the longest game coming in from Bifrost. Is this just lack of attention because they feel so comfortable? And that's why we see a little bit of throwing and a little bit of trolling.
I mean, you could tell they were having fun after losing that Baron because they were just flashing forward and going for like 3v2s and winning it and now overcoming it as well. So, yes, this game definitely went 5 to 7 minutes longer, I would say, than it necessarily should have. They could have prepared better for that Baron. I don't think they expected 42 and their jungler specifically to just say, no, we are not letting this game go over. And honestly, the player's name, I apologize, has left my brain, but that Hecarim, this game, kept 42 in this game for so long when they had no right in it, multiple times looking for counter ganks. There was a lot of awareness and jungle rotations. I remember there was a period in bot lane where Hecarim was coming for a lane gank, but at the same time Faith was also there in the top side in the tri-bush, and there was a lot of mind games and mental games going around. Slow dragons as well, which doesn't really help, but hey, they were looking for opportunities. 42 were trying to find it. They weren't able to get it. This game went on for 5 minutes longer because of that Baron steal.
It's still a victory for Bifrost at this moment. They're right now trying to think and understand how 42 can come back from this one. Bifrost, how to close it even faster than before. The reality stands is Bifrost is the favorite in this matchup, but in order to see the second game, which could probably be the ending one, unless 42 is able to find anything, it's going to be a little pause before we return with the second game. I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.